Howdy, what's going on? Jake here with Uncommon EDC, and today I'm sharing a sneak peek at a brand new knife coming soon from Jack Wolf Knives. And of course I'm talking about the Pioneer Jack. I'll show the tube bar as well as all of the goodies that came in the tube a little bit later in the video. But for now, I'm going to go ahead and set this aside so we can take a look at the star of the show, the reason you probably clicked this video, and of course that is the Pioneer Jack itself. So this one is in a dark matter blue fat carbon, which I think looks excellent, but if it's not really your thing, as usual, available with 5 different cover options, which I'll go over in a bit here. First, I wanted to talk about the actual release of this. So this drops in about 2 weeks from when this video is going live, Friday, September 22nd at 2 p.m. Eastern, 11 a.m. Pacific. Now, if you're thinking about picking this up, I will link in the description to a list of all of the authorized dealers. I'm not going to bother with affiliate links on this one because what inevitably happens with these drops is 1 or 2 cover materials end up being more popular and maybe they sell out a little bit faster. And so it may sell out at one retailer, but if you have that full list and work your way through it on drop day, there's a good chance you're going to get the cover material that you're hunting for. And so start with your favorite retailer, but work your way through the list and you should be able to get what you're looking for. Now, with all that said, what is the Pioneer Jack? If you're a fan of traditional knives, you may have immediately recognized this pattern, but if not, this is based on a farmer's knife pattern. One might say it's a pattern that excels at busting sod, but only Case would say that. Everyone else can't because Case trademarked the name Sodbuster. And so you'll find this pattern in a bunch of different names from a bunch of different knife makers, but they're all based off of that Sodbuster pattern. And so this is a really cool, modern, beautiful interpretation of that pattern, but it did keep that DNA of what makes a Sodbuster. And that isn't its looks. You know, obviously the looks are something that you can identify it by, but people don't necessarily buy the Sodbuster because it's a good looking knife. I think there are good looking versions of it, but they buy it because it's an excellent working knife. It's the kind of what comes to mind when people think of a slip joint that you can use as a working knife. And so this definitely kept that in mind, kept that in its DNA as well. And we'll talk about those kind of features that stayed because of it. It's not just a dressed up version with some fancy materials. It's still an excellent worker's knife. And I do plan on using it in that capacity. And so with that said, let's talk about the other cover materials quickly. So obviously I have that fat carbon, in this case dark matter, but there's also a Toxic Storm version if that's more your speed. Yellow and green, they play off each other really well. Really excellent looking version of the fat carbon. Now if you're not into fat carbon, you can also get it in Ultim, which for me I'm super excited about. May try to pick that up in the drop actually if I have the opportunity to. Now outside of that, you have a smooth titanium that's going to look the same as this bolster, just all the way down, as well as a jigged titanium. That one is DLC coated both in the handle and the blade, so fully blacked out with the jigged pattern on the handle itself. So really great options there. Dimension wise, we're looking at a pretty medium sized knife. It's at 6.7 inches overall, I believe I measured at, so just under 7 inches. And it is a slip joint, of course, like most Jack Wolf knives are, with the exception of the Gunslinger Jack. And because that blade is sub 3 inches, it's going to be legal in most places. So we have about 2.93 inches overall, but about 2.67 inches of cutting edge. You can see it has that kick there as well as the sharpening choil, and so you end up with about 2.67 inches of cutting edge. This is S90V on the blade, that drop point style blade that you see on all Sodbusters. Really excellent blade shape. Obviously this one seems to me like it might have a more prominent tip than the typical Sodbuster, but otherwise very similar blade shape. And I don't actually have a Sodbuster to compare it to, something I should mention actually. And so when he announced that this was the pattern for the month, I was super excited because I've been meaning to order a Sodbuster, and really the reason I haven't is I can't decide on what cover material to get. And so this is going to kind of force my hand. By the time you see a full-length video on this, I will have one to compare it to. And actually now that I have it, I have a pretty good idea of which one I'm going to order. But back to those dimensions, we're looking at 3.79 inches on the handle. Really ergonomic handle, able to get a full 4-finger grip really comfortably on there. And so the lack of a pocket clip really lends itself well to the ergos, as does I think the kind of fatter end here. So it's a little bit thicker on the bottom as well than a normal Sodbuster. And so I think that's really comfortable. Nice place for your thumb to land. You can see there's a swedge on the blade, but it stops a little bit early. No jimping, which I think obviously was a wise decision. but gives a nice landing spot for your thumb. Now, using this as a working knife, this has a really stiff spring in action, which is good. You won't have any worries that this is going to close up on you on accident. It takes a decent bit of pressure just to get it here, and to snap it into that half stop is really something that you're going to have to do pretty intentionally. It's not something that I think is going to happen accidentally. Now we do have that really nice hollow grind on here. You can see the grind line still looks great as usual, but it's a little bit thicker than what we typically see on Jack Wolf knives. And so hopefully this will pick up on camera, but if we look at the spine of that, you look towards the tip, you can see about how thick it is. And then if we look at an older model or any other model from Jack Wolf knives, this is the laid back Jack, which I haven't actually done my video on, but you've seen it several times on the channel at this point. That's coming soon. But if we look at the tip on this one, it basically disappears on camera when I get it at that right angle, versus with the Pioneer Jack where you can still see that pretty prominently. And so it's a significant bit thicker, which is obviously a good thing when you're thinking about a working knife. You want a tip that you're not worried about breaking, and I don't think that's really been an issue with Jack Wolf knives where the tips are breaking off. But a knife that's built to be a worker knife, you want something a little bit more substantial, and so it's nice that he took that into account. And like I said, didn't just dress up the knife, he made sure that it's still a working knife. And so with that, it weighs in at about 2.45 ounces for this version, and that may differ a little bit based on the cover material that you go with. I think they'll all be pretty similar in that ballpark. They're all pretty light materials overall, but you might get slight fluctuation somewhere in, instead of 2.45, you might get 2.40 or 2.5. And so maybe a little bit of fluctuation, but it should be pretty similar. Obviously, as usual, excellent fit and finish, excellent walk and talk on this. You can see that spring, which looks like it would be flat if you look at it from straight up, but if you curve back here, you can see that it actually curves downwards a little bit. And so instead of a curved back spring, it has kind of a straight line, and then it curves down, and then another straight line down to here. And so it has these nice points, which I think look kind of cool. Don't know how well that'll pick up either, but I think it looks cool. But flush in all three positions, really great walk and talk on this. And like I said, you can see flush in all three positions, which is to be expected with these. They always have excellent fit and finish and walk and talk. One other thing worth noting is this is a nail nick deployment, but you are able to pinch grip it still. So it does have that swedge, which wasn't sure how well it would pinch grip, but really nice kind of deep cut nail nick in there with a nice sharp edge on there. And so I usually keep my nails pretty short. And so although I like nail nicks, I usually like a pinch grip a little bit better, and so you are able to get the meat of your finger into that nail nick and easily pinch grip this open with no problem whatsoever. And so that works really well. And so really loving this so far in hand, feels great. Obviously going to do a more in-depth video than this down the line. One other thing that you'll notice on here, it has that titanium bolster, which isn't necessarily typical of a sodbuster, but that does allow him to kind of break it up a little bit with the cover materials, but also add that triple fluting that you've been seeing recently on the Jack Wolf knives. Some of the earlier ones didn't have that, but every one that I have that I picked up has it, so you can see it on the laid back Jack as well. And so that's kind of becoming a trademark gunslinger Jack. This is the only modern locking knife that he's done, but same thing, has that triple fluting. And so that's kind of becoming a trademark, a recognizable thing with Jack Wolf knives. The billboarding on these tends to be pretty minimal. So you see the Jack Wolf right here on the Tang stamp, and then the S90V on the other side, but otherwise a pretty sterile look, which I always appreciate. I think it just makes it look a little bit more elegant. And so super comfortable, excited to use this one a decent bit more before I make that video. Excited to pick up a sodbuster to compare it to. But let's set it aside and take a look at all of the goodies. You know, this isn't gonna make or break the sale, but it's definitely, you know, a nice touch to get good packaging. Obviously, you only open it once, but you get a lot of cool goodies with it, and I think they look good, which adds to the overall experience. So first off is the tin, which I showed in the beginning, or the tube. I definitely prefer tubes over boxes. I have a nice display of Jack Wolf tubes as well as GEC tubes on a shelf in my room. And so they do some really nice tins. These ones are actually a little bit nicer than GEC because they are made out of metal and they have these cool illustrations. These ones are illustrated by Tiffany, who's a new illustrator for the last two knives. The other ones were all done by a different artist. And so new artist here. But really nice tin. Now inside of that tin, you get a couple of things. You get the sticker, and now they're sending out 2 of them, so I have an extra one here. That one's just the one that I was able to flatten out a little bit more. But you get 2 stickers, which is really cool. You also get a pog, which is fun. If you grew up in the 90s, this is definitely something that's nostalgic and fun. Similar artwork, obviously, to the tube and the sticker. And then on the back, you get the Jack Wolf logo, their website, as well as the model of the knife. And now in addition to that, you do get a slip from Northwoods, and these are the same ones you get in all of them. Nice Jack Wolf logo on there. You can see it fits in here pretty well. And obviously these are the same size for all of them, but they do fit in there. Obviously, I think if there were a bigger one, he'd give you a bigger slip if it didn't fit in here, but it fits in there really nicely. And these are super nice slips. I think if you buy them separately, they're probably about 40 bucks or so. And so, in fact, I know the Gunslinger Jack had a slip that you could buy separately for around 40 bucks. And so really nice leather slip from them. And then you also get a microfiber cloth, which is another really nice touch. They're different every month, different color, different with each drop. And they're super soft, really great for cleaning your knives. Don't have to worry about scratching them. And yeah, bigger obviously also than a lot of the microfibers that we get. So definitely didn't skimp on all of the goodies and the extras. As usual with Jack Wolf knife, it's definitely something that he's kind of known for as well. But again, this will be dropping Friday, September 22nd, 2 p.m. Eastern. If you're looking to pick it up, that link will be in the description to all of those authorized dealers. I think all 5 models this time are $300, so no variation between the different cover materials or anything like that, which makes it easy. But let me know what you think of this new model down in the comments below. If you plan on picking one up, which one you're going to go for, and really anything else you want to add into the comments. Always enjoy chatting with everyone in the comments. So thanks for watching. Be sure to like, subscribe, and hit the notification button as well if you enjoyed this video. I know Patty's Potato Peelers also already has a video on the Ultim one out, and I'm sure there's going to be other ones for the other cover materials dropping in the next couple days. So if you're on the lookout for a particular one, just stay tuned. I'm sure those will be dropping in the next week or so. But thanks again for watching, and I hope you have a great one. Take care.